Welcome to Zombie Popcorn Radio. This is Jason. Paul is going to be a little bit late, but we have a great show for you tonight. It's going to be an amazing show. We have a very special guest, but we'll get to that soon. I just wanted to welcome everybody. This is November. I don't know why I would even say October. I'm still stuck in Halloween time. November 13th, 2010. Roughly show 55. So, welcome. I don't know if you've been hanging out on Zombie Popcorn's website. If you have, you've noticed that I did a book review just the other day. The book review was for the book Knuckle Supper. And if you read the write-up, or if you didn't, you would know that this book is about a heroin-addicted vampire gang leader named RJ and his troubles. It's an excellent book. I mean, in the post I wrote that if you took the brute killing force of the vampires in 30 Days of Night and mixed it with the heroin lifestyle of Sid and Nancy, threw it in the environment of the Warriors, and then added a pinch of the Catholic Church, wrapped it up nicely and tied it off with a bow package for humanity, you would have Knuckle Supper. But instead of just sitting here and talking about it, it would be better to bring on the person who wrote Knuckle Supper, Mr. Drew. Welcome to Zombie Popcorn, Drew.
Did you see Gwyneth on the CMAs?
Yeah, I thought the CMAs were great. It's about time that Brad Paisley won, right? I mean,
shocking.
I think he's really good. If I ever want, I really want the chance to,
hey guys. Hey, Drew.
Oh, yo, dude, what's up?
What's up? How you doing?
Not much, man. Sitting here drinking my malt.
Drinking your malt.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you've been doing all day?
Yeah, that's how we do it up here in LA, man. You know it.
Sweet. Is that Bud Lime?
Shit, man. This is malt liquor. No drinking no Bud Lime.
What is it? What is that on your knuckles? Did you get new tattoos?
Yeah, I got some ink the other day. Check this out.
Oh yeah, what does that say?
It's Knuckler. It's pretty tight. It's my ink. Really showing my street mentality, where I'm from, what the book's all about.
From the street, word.
How you doing, Jason?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Pretty good.
So I have one question for you. This book that I read, Knuckle Supper, that you wrote, really caught me off guard. And before we get into the details to it, you have to tell me how hard it is to sell a vampire story that involves a 12-year-old prostitute who gets gang raped.
Let me kind of like go ahead of you there a little bit. Right now, it's pretty much impossible, I'm sure, to sell a vampire book because it's so overblown that the entire genre has pretty much become a complete joke. And I'm dead serious that I was in Barnes & Noble recently, and I went up to the salesman there, who obviously was from Massachusetts. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And my girlfriend went up and said, could you point us to the horror section? And he said, horror! And they did not have a horror section. However, they did have a supernatural romance, like children's section. I don't know. I think it really shows the state of horror right now. You get two extremes. You get pretty much torture porn, or you get romance. And not being a big fan of PG-13 horror, I don't really like that. Back to your original question. I was just talking about vampire books and selling them right now and stuff. I really wanted to write a vampire book because I think that it was time for someone to kind of re-envision the vampire, kind of strip it down and make him kind of hardcore again. And I think I did a good job in 30 Days a Night. And I loved the Swedish Let the Right One In. Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't seen Let Me In yet. I think there's a lot of good stuff out there. But I mean, kind of look at the box office receipts of Let Me In. I mean, what a huge disappointment. Yeah. You know, if it's not about these sexy vampires anymore, it isn't. And that's really, really, really unfortunate. Because the vampire in general, at least from my experience, they're very brutal serial killers, you know. It's never about romance. Well, there is always a little bit, but I think that it's important that we kind of get back to that. I mean, I think of some of the vampire books that I really like and vampire movies that I really like. They're like Salem's Lot, Near Dark. I think that I kind of did a really good homage to Near Dark in my book, that there was some of these vampires, these street vampires, have to live in campers because of the zoning parts of Los Angeles where you can park campers wherever you want. Actually, over by Dion's work, you can park campers. There's a camper over there called The Intruder, and there's this crazy molester inside. But I think that vampire fiction right now has really taken a downfall. And, I'm not saying anything that everyone already hasn't said, but I really wanted to kind of combat that and come at the publishing industry with something that was like really hardcore. Essentially, because of my relationship with my publisher, it was kind of pre-sold. The idea, I kind of said, this is what I want to do. I want to make this about like these pretty hardcore serial killers who are heroin addicts, but I also want to have this like really underlying theme of the price of humanity. And on top of that, it was also really important for me. After I asked Dion, my co-screenwriter, I said, what's really a cause we can get involved in? And she kind of looked around a little bit, and she suggested Children of the Night. And through my publisher, I approached them, and I said, what, can we do a partnership with Children of the Night? They said yes, and then I went to them, and it's been a great experience ever since. I feel that I don't think by any means that this book's going to sell like 1 billion copies. I know it's not going to. It's got a very touchy subject matter. But that being said, every little part I can do to help a good cause, like Children of the Night is, and for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a nonprofit organization based in Los Angeles, but they have locations everywhere that gets child prostitutes off the street. And that hits really deep in the story, and I think that hits really deep that people realize this is going on. I went down there recently because I donated some computer equipment on behalf of my publishing company, and you walk in, you see like none of these girls are over 12 years old. I mean, this is real. I couldn't exaggerate this. And you feel like, oh my God, how can this be happening? Who's the bigger scumbag here? Is it the pimp that's putting him on the street, or is it actually, the guy who wants to have sex with a 12-year-old in general? Yeah. But it's a really, really positive environment. And the director, the creator, the CEO, Dr. Lois Lee, has made this really awesome environment. I mean, all these girls were smiling and happy, and they couldn't have been happier to get computer equipment because they want to learn, which is the exact opposite of what you'd see in any movie about like a childhood prostitute or a prostitute with a heart of gold. It's like the last thing they want to do is learn. When I was talking to Dion about it earlier, her kind of point was that that's what they want. They don't really have anywhere else to go except they're already on the streets because they're pretty much runaways. They've pretty much all already been raped, and it's like this is a way for me to make money. It's a trade-off for them, and they really don't know any better. And I'm not exaggerating when I say 12 years old, man. I mean, that's absolutely terrible.
Well, definitely.
Sorry.
I totally agree with you because you hear about it, but normally I think when you hear about child prostitution, it's always backed up with something that's happening overseas. You never hear about it here in the States, or at least in my bubble of the world, I haven't. And when I read your book, that part of the story, and I think you did a great job with it, really reached out and kind of grabbed me and kind of kicked me in the shins and said, hey, this story, maybe, vampires, but this stuff is really going on. I see the purpose of it. And it got me thinking more about it because, you teamed up with the Children of the Night. So after I finished reading the book, I went online and looked on it, and I was blown away by how such a serious issue. I mean, it's a serious issue, but I didn't realize how intense and how entrenched it is just here in the States.
Yeah, what, I was actually quite surprised too. Essentially, all I had really ever known about Children of the Night, was that Ronnie James Dio was really involved in it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm sure he was one of the big supporters of it, and he just passed this past year, which is really a bummer, I'm sure, for them. They've also got a lot of other people involved in it, though. I mean, you got Cher and some big stars. But I think you hit on a really good note there, Jason, when you said that people don't really realize. You think this is like this, Asian hooker trade, or this goes on in Taiwan or these other places, and that it isn't close to home. But I mean, it's just as bad here as it is everywhere else, and it's brutal. I mean, I think that how many beds did it say on their website? They got something like 12 beds total, and that's unfortunate. And I really want people to give money to it, and I couldn't think of a better way to actually support something like that than possibly through a vampire book. As unconventional as it is, it's still a vampire book, but it's also really tied into these issues of, teenage prostitution and obviously heroin use, any kind of drug use, abuse in general, the price of humanity, sexual abuse. These are the important subjects. People pick up the book. I read a review the other day where a reviewer was like, this is the most disturbing and disgusting first chapter of a book I've ever read, And a lot of people who have read it really come off that way, and I'm sure a lot of people are turned off immediately. A lot of people have told me that, this is just a really gross way to start a book. And I'm like, you got to start it somewhere, and you've got to introduce these characters as who they are.
Yeah.
Especially with the transformation that happens with RJ throughout the book.
And I think the start of it was great. I mean, I mentioned in the review post that I did about it was I didn't realize how intense of material that I was reading at the time until I stopped at it before a chapter to go get a drink of water, and as I was walking to the kitchen, I felt dirty. I felt like I needed to go take a shower. And I was like, holy shit, that thing really hit me.
You got a glass of water for your whole body, huh?
Yeah, I was just like, this is.
You ended up like curling up in the sink and crying.
Yeah.
I think that it's important to really portray. This is an exaggerated book, and obviously, I've said 1,000 times, none of these gangs could ever exist. The Knucklers, especially. These are like these white bread, white trash. It's absolutely an extraordinary kind of situation. But, I don't necessarily think... I mean, The Warriors is one of my favorite movies, and a lot of people feel that I got a lot from The Warriors, which I did. It's really an homage that, you get these gangs that are so outrageous. I mean, I've never seen a street gang running around like the Baseball Furies. I mean, probably the coolest gang that I've ever seen in any movie. But you know what? They get their butts kicked in like 5 minutes, and they're pretty lame because they look kind of like clowns with baseball hats on. And I just think that I really wanted to really step up these gangs. And the more that you're introduced to different characters like Eldritch and different gangs like the Battlesnakes, which we all know is a joke in general, it really made me feel like I saw this animated version of Go-Go 13 a long time ago. And there's like kind of this part at the end when he's going up this skyscraper and he's got to essentially stop on every floor. And every floor he stops at, there's this boss who's bigger and badder than on the last floor. And I really kind of wanted to bring that feeling because I know that when people play video games, they want to see oh wow, I can't wait to see what the next cool boss is. Yeah. And I kind of wanted to bring that overall feel into the book, and that's why I introduced so many new gangs. And the second book, I've got some actually a little bit more exaggerated gangs and a direct kind of homage to the Baseball Fury. But yeah, It is what it is, and as violent as it is, and as horrible as some people think it is. I mean, some guy reviewed it. Actually, didn't even review it. He was on Goodreads, and he just gave it a 1 star and said, interesting concept, they couldn't get through it. And give it a 1 star. It's like, well, dude, don't review it if you're going to just, take a smash on this book. It's go through the entire book. Because I think that as, if you read a quarter of it, you just think, okay, this is going to be 100% about, Bait and RJ's shenanigans together, which it's not. Yeah. And I think a lot of the reviewers are really taken back, when there's that really rough transition in the middle. But I think that was so necessary because you have to realize this book, even though it's really about Bait and how much Bait brings to RJ in his life, is that this is told through the point of view of RJ. I just can't switch it up. Bait's not going to be there. And when RJ gets to a point when he realizes who he is, Bait could not have been in those scenes. There was no real need for witty jokes. It had to be really dry, really dark, and claustrophobic, and he just had to really kind of feel the way he did. Yeah.
real quick, take a quick break. Just let everybody know Paul is now here. So welcome,
everyone.
Paul. Paul, meet Drew.
Drew, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, man.
Yeah, going back to the dirty, gross feeling that you get reading that first chapter, the first battle, and just kind of getting to know the characters in the book. I think it played really well to the whole overall story, just because it as you mentioned it set the stage of what these people really are deep inside. I mean, they're born killers. I mean, they I don't know what I mean. That's what they do. They do the drugs. They kill people. They obviously think they're vampires. And if we didn't have that extreme side of it, when it got to the point, and here I guess we're going to get to the spoiler part of it. So if you haven't read it and you want to read it, plug your ears or something. But when they get captured and are sitting there within the cloth room, and they're trying, they're kind of doing a lot of self-reflecting while being tortured. I think it played very well in terms of contrast. It kind of gave them a human element, and which really played well to the end of the book, which I'm not going to talk about. But
I think it was important, especially to see a character. I mean, just for those of you who haven't read it yet. I mean, obviously it doesn't come out till Tuesday. That I originally, characters like Eldritch and King Cobra to me originally started out as like really one-dimensional, and they were just kind of to make a point. About Eldritch, obviously, he was a complete satire of vampire literature in general, everything that we pursue about vampires. I just love writing the guy so much because he was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
everything about him so exaggerated, and like RJ does in the book, you can't help but just roll your eyes at this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, but in the end, he's got such a turn that you're kind of like, wow. And especially, and I think that the same as we said about King Cobra, this guy who's essentially Marcellus Wallace from Pulp Fiction, but then you get this part when he's so kind of incapacitated that you really get to see this relationship that he has with RJ and what it's really about. And it's not about this white and black or anything that simple. Is they've got this relationship, they've had this relationship for a long time, and it just, for them to be together, it really brought it out. And as far as characters go, King Cobra was my favorite, and I think that he was a character that a lot of people also really warmed up to. I mean, a lot of people kind of look at RJ and they're like, wow, it's like looking yourself in the mirror. How can, we all have so many faults, even if you're this quote-unquote exceptional supernatural being. And, Eldritch is just like, everyone's looked in the mirror at one point and said, am I really wearing this? I'm such an effing poser.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that people can laugh at Eldritch and can relate to RJ because all these characters should have a piece of everybody in them. And just like a lot of people have said, Bait, I mean, she's just got so little,
Yeah.
And why wouldn't she want to be a vampire? And why wouldn't she want to get even with all these people? I mean, the way that vampires are perceived in our world, our real world, is that they've got the greatest lives in the world, I mean, it baffles my mind that I watch these vampire movies and, these vampires, I read these books, and these vampires have these huge mansions and they're doctors and shit like that. I'm like, how is that possible, dude? Who's doing the credit check here? It's just not possible. And that's why I went back after the third draft of Knuckle Supper, and I actually explained how he had a house.
Yeah.
Which I think made sense because it fit into the story. Without it, I would have felt like, okay, I'm really leaving people out here on how this is even possible.
Yeah.
So it really fit into both those characters involved there.
That was definitely one of the awesome things about the book is all the plots. I mean, because there's a lot of things coming at you from different angles, just story plots, and how you wrapped everything up. You didn't leave any plot holes that I could see from when I read it. If there was, I guess I enjoyed it too much that I overlooked it. But
thanks, Jason. I tried not to leave anything open. The things that I did leave open are obviously for a sequel. There's a lot of questions about who the hell Eldritch is, and there's also a lot of questions about Elbyron Nightshade, who is essentially the epitome of everything lame about vampirism today. And although he doesn't directly appear in the book, except for like RJ ragging on him, especially with Dez.
On the billboards.
Yeah. Is that I think he's going to, I don't think he is. I know he's going to play a very important part in the story.
He should have a spin-off.
I'll just leave it at that, because it's really kind of hinted on in the very end of the book.
Yeah.
It sounds like someone I've gone to a club night with.
Smoking clove cigarettes.
Yeah. But in between his pinky and his ring finger instead of the other one. Am I muted?
Are you? No, you're good.
No, you're on.
I just can't hear myself.
You just can't hear you. You're good.
Jason, did you like the club scene?
I did. I liked my favorite environment and scene was the transvestites' house, their little warehouse, because it was so perfect, 1970s sci-fi. Everything. I mean, everything about it. I was like, dude, I want that.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet, and obviously the main motivation behind that is really Klaus Nomi. But obviously, a lot of Ziggy Stardust in there.
Yeah.
And like Barbarella and things like that, because I really wanted to tap on this. I mean, talk about a gang that's outrageous. You can say that's outrageous, but I'm going to be honest with you. I live down La Brea in Hancock Park, and there's a Carl's Jr. on the corner of La Brea and Santa Monica, and there are so many transvestite prostitutes there constantly. And I really don't think, besides the whole space thing, that's really exaggerated. I mean, that's where they are. That's where they find their Johns. And, just so everyone knows, the Batwangers are actually another gang from the book. They are these kind of like transvestite, transsexual vampires. They pretty much are like, they do any drugs. They don't really have a specific, like the Knucklers are all about heroin and ripping your arms off and stuff like that. These are a gang of just kind of really randomly thrown into the story, but they're thrown in definitely for a purpose. Yeah. And it really kind of shows. I think that what they did a really good job of showing in the book is that, like, even someone who's like that we're looking at as this hero like RJ, I mean, is just such a homophobe,
Yeah.
And when he kind of comes face to face with Nomi, who's the leader, that he kind of starts realizing that. And once again, later on in the story, with the second confrontation with the Batwangers, I think that he actually learned something about people being different to him or being different than him, which is cool, because you don't want him going through this like really linear like thought pattern. Every character's got to grow, and I think that he grows in these little ways that all kind of turn into like a bigger deal by the very end.
Well, I think the last couple of chapters he grew tremendously. Especially in that battle that you were speaking of, when he was face to face, eye to eye to that situation, you could tell it totally hit him square in the face, and that was one of the major, I guess what you could say, be cliche about it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, was the eye to eye.
I think that totally was. I agree with you, Jason. Thanks for noticing that, because I think that it also pointed out. I mean, just with that part of the story. I feel bad not telling people what it is because it ruins a lot.
You can't tell it.
Yeah, it really explains a lot about where RJ comes from and where he's come to.
Yeah.
Because of that other person in that scene. It's really brief. You don't really get anything out of it except that, you know what? RJ knows that he's wrong and that he has been wrong his entire, what he knows of his life.
Yeah.
And that's what I really want people to walk away from this book with. Is that, you know what, you can grow, and doing bad things like being a serial killer, that's not really good. So, it's important that he grew. And you know what, a lot of people are, just like I had said, a lot of people are kind of thrown off by that whole middle portion of the book. And you can't have a linear storyline. I mean, Jason, would you have liked the book as much if it were just like RJ and Bates' wacky adventures killing people?
No, because it would just. I think I would have got bored with it. It was what made the book good was the internal struggle as well as what the struggle that was in front of them. I mean, it was their battle with themselves, trying to find out especially with RJ, what he was about. Because everybody else accepted that this is what they are, this is what they do, that we are vampires. But he had something about him saying, "There's got to be something else." And when it was laid out in front of him, it just made him.
Okay, on that, I mean, I really had to kind of think. I mean, after I had written the first chapter, which I don't know if you know where I got the name of the book from. It was from that show Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. I was watching it a long time ago, and one of the characters said Knuckle Supper, and I sat down right then and I started writing the first chapter, just because it was one of those things that kind of just went off my brain. I'm like, okay, here's a cool idea. And I was going to write a sequel to Godless, but, I personally didn't want to be in that dark place anymore. No pun intended, since it's Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. But I really wanted to try something new, and I've always been really into horror, and I actually had always aspired to write horror. But I think that, that being said, is like the first thing after I wrote that first chapter is I came up with who these beings were. And it really took me to actually just strip all the vampire mythos away and kind of come at it in a brand new way. And I think that although it's kind of shocking, and it all kind of plays into the whole flavor of everything that's going on in the book. And I think that I actually explained it. We read vampire books today and we see vampire movies, and everything's already explained for us, so we don't have to have it explained. Besides sparkling, whatever the hell that means. What I mean?
No.
But I mean, we walk into it and okay, he's going to bite her neck because that's how they do it. They bite their jugular veins, or he doesn't like garlic, or he doesn't like holy water. Well, none of that stuff affects these vampires. Yeah. And I had to come up with a way to make their origin. And a couple times, a couple different passes at it, it was just way far out there. And I'm kind of like, this is just way too supernatural for this book. I mean, I know it's fiction. I know it's a vampire book. But I can't put something in here that's just completely outrageous that people are going to be like, okay, that's not possible. I don't know if their genesis is possible. Probably not. But it seems a lot more straight, like these people, where they came from, that they actually do kind of come from the street. They're not like someone had sex with cement or anything like that. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wanted to explain that. I didn't want to over-explain it, but I think that I wanted to put it in context with the rest of the story, which is bait, the addictions, the sexual abuse, and all this. And I think that I kind of did a good job of bringing all those major themes back into the origin of the story. Yeah. And especially for RJ, it hits him pretty hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was life-changing. It hit him so hard.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the book, you mentioned knuckleball. And you mentioned earlier that you were going to continue that, but you didn't want to go into great detail about that. So, outside of knuckleball, what is coming up for RJ and the gang?
I honestly don't want to reveal too much.
Okay.
I can tell you a couple things. It's not going to take place in Los Angeles. Firstly,
yeah.
I don't want to the character that's revealed in the end of the book. I don't want to give anything away, but it's a major turning point, and it's obviously the biggest thing that's ever happened in RJ's life. If you look at it that way, is a major plot point in the second story. Like I said before, there's going to be a lot more Eldritch in the second book, because I think that people really dug him, and I thought that people were just going to walk away saying, "Oh my God, this guy's the biggest idiot." But I think that the transformation, that he doesn't really have a transformation. There's parts of the book where King Cobra's like, "Oh my God, that guy scares the shit out of me." Yeah. But he's going to play a big part in it. I want to bring back the BBPs, the Blue Blood Perrys, because people really dig them.
Yeah.
I mean, for a gang that only appears in 3 pages of the book, I think Linwood Perry's in it. People are like, "Oh my God, that guy's great." I'm like, why? He's just such a smug, James Spader, Pretty in Pink scumbag. And people like him. And I've already outlined and kind of drawn out these 3 new gangs. One of the gangs is called the Chaplains. And essentially they're going to be like these, this is the baseball Furies thing I was saying. They're kind of like these kind of dressed like these silent movie stars, kind of really creepy. Another gang is called the Real McCoys. They're probably just going to be like meth addict, like cowpunks. and the third gang is called the Ride the Lightning, and this will be our first introduction to a female gang. Other than that, it's going to focus on these same issues that we dealt with in Knuckle Supper of abuse. It's going to go farther, though, because I think that I just because I have to at this point, I kind of have to turn it back on RJ.
Yeah.
And what's actually going to happen. You know, I mean, there's nothing worse than being blamed for something that you hate more than anything else in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would never molest a child or thinking about it, but like even if someone had even mentioned that to me, it would put me over the edge. Like, oh, you touch a little girl, it would drive me insane.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important for RJ. You know, I mean, for all intents and purposes, RJ is. He's a being. We don't know if he's really human, but he is a being. But, I mean, other than that, Deon Jones and I, who's a screenwriter that I've known for a pretty long time, we are writing the script for Knuckle Supper right now. She's here over at my house right now. She wanted to bring her over and we can talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
She's actually drinking bourbon because she laughed at my Bud Lime.
That's a good drink.
Hey.
So,
hello, welcome to the Zombie Popcorn.
Hey. How are you?
Good.
Paul and Jason. You can start it off. I mean, right as of this point, Deon's done most of the work just because, you know, the book's released next week, and I've just been trying to pit myself out of, like, as much as possible and get as many people to review it as possible. And you know what, I got to tell you, the horror community in general is just so outstanding and so supportive. Besides the guy who read, 2 pages and who pooed it online, he's not even from the horror community. Yeah. But everyone else, I just want to give a shout out to everyone really quick before we get into the screenplay, because I appreciate it. As kind of a give back to like everyone who helped out and stuff like that. We are doing a giveaway on Bloody Disgusting starting at the release on Tuesday up until Black Friday, which we're going to call Black Tar Friday. We're giving away an iPad with Knuckle Supper, a Kindle with Knuckle Supper, 5 signed copies of the book, and 10 signed T-shirts. And Jason, you've got one of the T-shirts, right? They're pretty sweet. Yes,
they're great. They're the cover of the book, the font of the book with the syringe on it.
Yeah, I like the pink syringe. That was the artist's decision. At first, I'm kind of like, that's going to look lame, but it totally pops. And I love it. Yeah. So, Deanna, if you want to talk about the first act. I mean,
let's back up real quick because we jumped into it so quickly. You're working on a script, meaning there's going to be a movie made from this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what that means.
We are writing it in poem form, and we are hoping that it will someday be the Bible. Now, that's exactly what we're doing.
Cool. Yeah.
We are going to turn it into a film. I've known Deon for a while. She is very versed in screenwriting. I essentially come from TV and internet work. Never actually worked on a film. But we think that we could really bring this. A lot of people are kind of questioning whether or not, well, we want this to remain as like loyal to the readers as possible. We don't want to deliver something that's really half-assed or doesn't really show off. I mean, this is a very, very violent book. And like I said, if you're 18, I do not want you to read this. Unless, of course, you want to be cool and punk rock. But, I mean, if not, that's cool. But we want to try...
7 seconds, it's fine.
We want to remain as loyal, obviously, to the book as possible. There are some scenes that Deon was glad to point out to me that drag on a little bit and are inappropriate for the screen. But we've got a really good feeling. We both got different opinions on how it should flow, and I think that I want to give her like just as much of a voice into this book because she likes the book, and I want her to give just as much of a voice into it as far as how it'll translate to the screen as I have as the author.
Yeah. And
that being said, you can ask her about she's essentially finished her past the first act. So if you want to talk about that, dude.
Well, Drew passed it on. I read Godless and loved it. I read Godless, his first book, in like 3 hours. And just totally loved it. And
it's 5 pages long.
Took her 3 hours.
There's some things about Drew's writing that's really fantastic, and that is A, that it's extremely realistic, but B, there's a sense of humor to it. and C, there's a deep morality in it as well, which I find just extremely interesting that he's able to make those three things work at once. And so I was just really drawn to the story, especially with all the vampire movies that are out there. And I'm like, one of the saddest parts of the book to me is that this poor little girl is by herself and she wants something like magical to happen. She wants somebody to come in and change her and like get her out of this situation. Because I promise you, there's nothing more horrific in reality than being a child prostitute. So I just was like, I love this. This is so visual, and it's got such a strong storyline and such amazing characters that I'm like, dude, we have to make this into a movie, and we got to do it quick. So I just sat down and started, working on it, and it was quite interesting because, once I went through it, like the first act of the book sets up perfectly for the first act of the movie. So I'm very inspired by that.
Very awesome. So what is the time frame for this? I mean, when do you expect to have this script complete and start principal photography?
We want to have actually both our inputs into like the script and passing it back and forth, like full script. I mean, we both really have had it in our mind for a while. I mean, geez, when this book comes out, it'll be almost 3 years since I started writing it, and Dion's been like by my side the whole time, kind of rooting for me to get it done. But I got a drinking problem. But yeah, the Bud Lime is just really
the Bud Lime gets you
taking me down. That we both had this essentially the same vision. We both had kind of like different insight into what this should be. So we've been working on it like by ourselves for a while now, and we'd really, really, really like to get a first full pass of the script done by the first of the year. And I think that's a very reasonable timeline for both of us, because the more we pass it back and forth, the more I can kind of say, okay, I think this is where it should go. I mean, currently right now, I think that we've got a difference of opinion about voiceover, and I think it's not at the level of like difference as like Ridley Scott and, I think it was Warner Brothers and the Blade Runner debacle. But I mean, I think that if we do it right, it'll work. But, obviously I want Dion to have just as much input into that as anything else, because, everyone knows that like just absolutely pointing things out, unless you're Martin Scorsese, is obnoxious. It's like that show Blue Bloods. I don't know if anyone watched the very first episode. They made a joke on it, I think, on The Soup maybe, and they're like, okay, this is the show. You learn everything you need to know in like the first 5 minutes. I mean, it was honestly telling you, oh, you sis, you're the DA, aren't you, you liberal? Come on, man.
And when you were talking earlier about the first of the book, that's my favorite part, is you just are so active immediately into the story. And it really takes you on such a great journey. So
yeah, I think while I was writing it, I obviously had like a lot of screenplay in mind. That's why I kind of wrote it with this like very musical feeling to it, is because I had read this article with Wes Anderson, not comparing myself to anyone that brilliant, but he said that he kind of writes screenplays and he writes stories with definite songs in mind for how that scene would play out, and you can really see it in his work. I think that so many of his scenes that have these kind of what people at the time thought were random songs. I mean, a lot of people have tried to emulate his style, but I think probably especially, let's say,
like all the major
Rushmore. I think that there are scenes, when the Gene Hackman scene where he's
on the go-kart.
That's actually whatchamajig, not Rushmore.
Oh, Tenenbaums.
Tenenbaums. When Gene Hackman's in the go-kart and stuff, and it's so funny, and you can just feel the music, and it's a song that you would never normally listen to. And the fact that a lot of Knuckle Supper is based around punk rock, I wasn't gonna like really listen to like Anarchy in the UK and whatever Clash song or the Ramones or whatever else that's like really played out. I really wanted to like kind of write these scenes around these really vague songs. And I mean, Dion's had the soundtrack of like what I was listening to. She's had it for like a year and a half now.
Longer than that.
Yeah.
And
there's an authenticity to it, and it's very specific. And my goal as the screenwriter coming in with him is to keep all of those attributes there. That's the most important point, is the really specific parts about the different gangs and the situations and the songs and the feel.
Yeah, I mean, just like I said earlier about this whole like video game kind of bigger boss type of thing, I really wanted each of these gangs not to only have their really distinct, if not one-dimensional kind of character set, like, let's just use the most one-dimensional gang of all, which is obviously the Rasta Battlesnakes.
Yeah.
With, hands down the dumbest name in the world, But I, obviously make a big joke about that.
Yeah.
In the story, they wouldn't like be throwing on like Get Up, Stand Up or something that was like really lame by Marley. I mean, these are guys who like are really into Peter Tosh. And there's younger gangs within gangs. Like in the Knucklers, there's the Desians, and within the Battlesnakes, there's like Baby Snakes. And they would definitely be listening to like some more like really hardcore dancehall stuff, like Mad Cobra. And I think that really kind of like involves you more in these characters. And I don't think that music necessarily has to be used as a depth machine to kind of like generate power to these characters. But I really think it helps.
Yeah.
And one of the editors had said to me that he really wanted me to like really kind of have a soundtrack in the story where like you enter a room and a song comes on. But I didn't want to make it that obvious. So we all know that like RJ listens to like Johnny Thunders and old school punk rock and stuff like that. But we also know a lot of things. I mean, I'm going to do with someone that I had met through the review process from Horror Punks. We are going to do a kind of a podcast that kind of for each of the different characters and each of the different gang sets. And he's got a kind of a better vision of me reading it coming from the outside, and he's got this like vast knowledge of like punk rock and goth. And I necessarily wouldn't have put a Ministry song like Dez, because it just seems like emo is what he is.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not necessarily true. I mean, there's no reason that Dez wouldn't listen to Skinny Puppy or Ministry. There's a lot more depth also to that character than just saying, okay, he's just some emo loser who just gives RJ a hard time and bugs the crap out of him. Because in the end of the book, he's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So I think that we really want to put music into how. And so I keep going on. I'm sorry.
No, that's cool. I think I've said it.
I mean, we want to remain as true to the book as totally possible. We don't want to be convinced, and I think that Dion's plan is kind of to self-produce. I mean,
yeah, I've already been.
Yeah, I mean,
pitching on the DL.
Yeah, she's been kind of pitching the DL, and I don't think that we kind of want to walk into it thinking that like, one of the major studios is going to just look at this and say, "Wow, this is what I want." I really want people to think about heroin addict vampires and teenage prostitution. I mean,
that's a blockbuster right there. It's hot topic.
General gore.
General gore. I think the genre is pretty much filled up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think pretty much everything has been really said about vampires. That's why I didn't really want to make these vampires per se.
Yeah.
And why I think it's important that this movie is done our way, and so it won't come off phony to people who read the book and say, "Okay, this book isn't like a load of shit." This wasn't some book that was created in the basement of the Mormon Tabernacle. You know what I mean? It's like, this is something that, I'm not saying that I'm from the street. I mean, that was kind of my joke when I came into this act, like I was from the street. I did a very piss poor job. The tomfoolery, it was much better written down. But,
that's normally the way it works. If you write it down, it's gone.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that we really wanted to come. We want a horror movie that comes from the fans. I mean, I think that's why I really liked Adam Green's Hatchet so much. It wasn't this just mind-blowing horror movie. But you know what? I watch it and I'm like, wow, this is back to the roots of a very franchised character. It's got a lot of good elements of slashers. And it just seems that we've gone away from that. And I think that independent horror in general, and I'm not even going as far as to even count Twilight as horror, because it's not.
Yeah.
Independent horror has kind of gone away. I mean, the popularity with PG-13 horror movies and stuff, and we want to kind of do a horror movie by horror fans. I know that sounds really lame, but it's the best comparison I can come up with. Because if you really enjoy this book, which I hope people do, and you walk away from it and say, "Wow, there's no way this can be made a movie because it'll compromise everything about this book," which some reviewers have said, actually. And I think it can be made into a movie, but I think with very limited studio involvement.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's where the power will have to come from because, I mean, there's some ugly parts to it that we don't.
Well, I
want to get rid of.
That being
You could
said,
do brain dead style.
I'm not going
Say
to
it again.
You could do like brain dead style with Peter Jackson's brain dead.
Hey man, think about what he's gone to, I mean, Peter Jackson's first few movies, people who don't know, are just absolute blood and guts.
Yeah,
I'm sure I'm not telling your audience anything they don't know.
So
I think there's a challenge to it too, There's so much of just the vampire genre in general that's just been, the last bit of juice has been squeezed from the lemon. So let's say if we can reinvent that and make it something nobody's seen before, which is always a challenge I look at. Like, let's give somebody something they haven't seen before, because that's always interesting to me myself.
Yeah, and me too. And that's why, writing this book was completely stepping back, stripping them down, getting rid of every cliche I could think of. And if I ever did write any cliche in any of this, I went back and I took it out because those things annoy me, and it's all too easy to write a story like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally haven't read, Bram Stoker's great-great-grandson, twice removed. I haven't read his take on Dracula, but I just hear it's kind of... I don't want to rag on it because I haven't read it, so I don't want to be like that guy who gave me a 1-star after he read the book. But I mean, it's...
Of which you're bitter about.
Yeah, of course.
There's so much anger in you.
Raw! It comes from being from the street, dude.
Yeah, from the street does it to you. So let me ask you both a question that could possibly make the fans be so excited about this upcoming book being to a movie or totally kill it. So, what is your favorite horror film?
No, you first.
I think without question for me, I've got a top 30, but number one, it just hands down is The Exorcist. I don't think anything's compared to it since. I'd say number 2 is probably Halloween. We'd probably throw Suspiria in there just to make the Rob Zombie fans happy. I like so many of them. I'm really big on 80s horror. Prince of Darkness is one of my favorite movies, and people just detest that movie. And I don't get why, because I love it. I love everything about it. I love the questions that are asked in that movie that are very unlike any other supernatural Satan movie. I'm also a big fan of Season of the Witch, Halloween 3. If you guys want to tell me to piss off and turn this interview off now, that's fine. No one likes that movie.
As soon as you said that.
People are dying.
I think that Dan O'Hurley in that role is the owner of the mask company is just outstanding. It's obviously got its annoyances, but it's I think a cool horror movie. And people always say, "Well, I'm going to give it a 4th look," and people keep trying to like it, but it just kind of threw off the whole Michael Myers thing.
Yeah.
You don't even know why it was branded Halloween.
For me, the thing that attracts me to Knuckle Supper isn't necessarily the horror, but it's more the realistic, just everyday gore of life, which would take you back to a Train Spotting or a Sid and Nancy or Clockwork Orange or stuff like that. That's what really attracts me the most.
So that's what my wife referenced was Train Spotting when we were talking about this book after I read it.
Yeah, very much so.
So yeah, definitely.
Well, thanks, Jason. You just gave me the final piece of the puzzle. Now I've got Clockwork Orange. I've got several Warriors comparisons. I've got the Anti-Twilight and Sid and Nancy, thanks to you. And now I've got that very elusive vampire Train Spotting. Jason Bayless, Train Spotting.
Yes.
Vampires.
But it's true. I mean,
I didn't say
reality, that's disgusting. So.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously also love Train Spotting, love Clockwork Orange, love Warriors. I mean, there's a lot in this that is Clockwork Orange and the Warriors. I'm sure, Jason, you noticed the part with the Misfits was, I'm not going to say directly lifted from a Clockwork Orange, but it's got some similarities. And I love that they did that on South Park last week. That Cartman is the coon, did that full Alex scene where he just...
My favorite part of the whole book is the fake fire. That's my favorite part of the whole book.
That is so awesome.
I'm like, you gotta be kidding. This is amazing.
It is awesome. I did laugh when I read that part. I was like, what?
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy.
Well, I was in an opera house. That would be there.
But even with the the Looney Tunes mousetrap segment was very funny too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was just absolutely. That might as well have been Sideshow Bob with the rakes. You know, it's like, yeah, one of the greatest things ever.
It was good. I don't think we've mentioned this yet, so let me go ahead and mention the book comes out. Knuckle Supper is the book, and it comes out November 16th, available everywhere, both in hardback and in digital. You can pick it up. 10% of the hardback goes to Children of the Night, and $1 of the digital download goes to the same organization, which we talked about earlier, which is a phenomenal organization.
I really would appreciate people's support, and I hadn't envisioned when I wrote the book that I was going to be actually involved in any kind of charitable organization, but I mean, I think it's important to note it because it is. You know, you get a book, whether you like it or not, I don't know. But you also get this money goes somewhere for people who really need it. And like I said, losing Dio, I think, to them last year was probably a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, he has been the biggest supporter. They have a luncheon next week, and I'm probably going to go. And I mean, just, you feel bad because I got to tell you, like everyone who's watching this or thinking about it, I mean, I devoted a lot of my summer trying to raise awareness for it, and I gave away some Xboxes and some Kindles and stuff.
Oh, goodness.
And, you know, I'd be lying to say that it wasn't a lot of marketing for my book as well. But the truth being is that I kind of doubled their presence on Facebook. And I think it's important that if you do get a book, or if you're going to put your money in your book, especially with like, the economy the way it is, it's nice to know that some of it's going somewhere. And it's not just, none of this book is lining my pockets. And I wanted to do that. And it's not about me being overly generous. I just think that it's important. Because I mean, once I saw these girls, I got to tell you, it was something that was earth-shattering, but at the same time, because of the environment, you just walk away and you're saying, like, wow, this is so cool that someone's doing this.
Yeah.
And you can drive down Sunset Boulevard any night of the week, and you can actually see these people, and it's these children. And I got to stress children, because I don't think any of the girls I saw there were over 12. It's just heartbreaking, man. I mean, they got nowhere to go. And just like Bait in the book, she has nowhere to go. You know, she ran away because she was getting molested.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like what she opens herself up to is, okay, I'm a 12-year-old runaway. What other choice in life do I have right now? Especially in Los Angeles or any big city where Children of the Night has a presence.
Yeah.
And it should be something to think about. And I'm really glad, Jason, that you pointed out that, you know, everyone thinks this is something that's not U.S.-based or it's not USA. You see this in, you know, Taiwan or, you know.
Well, the original article, How We Found Children of the Night, is I was reading an article on a child prostitute ring in Dallas. And they were stating that, like, in the whole country, there were, like, 144 beds for these children when they are taken in. And I was like, wow. And Children of the Night was quoted in the article, and I sent it to Drew, and Drew was like, this is exactly what we need. And we just stepped off from that.
You know, I think actually the name of the organization, and just so you know, you can go to childrenofthenight.org, and I recommend people go there and really get some information on this cause, because it's a great cause. But, I mean, I hate to trivialize it, but the name itself is just so fitting for a vampire book.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't set up that way at all. I mean, I have to tell you, I've met with Lois Lee a couple times, you know, obviously to discuss the partnership and talk about, like, how I can help and things like that. And, you know, I mean, this woman has got a heart of gold, man. I've never seen anything like it. She'll bend over backwards and really wants nothing out of it. What she gets out of it, I believe, I mean, I didn't ask her this, is that, you know, she's teaching these girls, she's getting them high school diplomas, like, internally, and things like that.
And how about protecting them and giving some human trust?
Them.
Like, these poor kids have nothing.
Yeah, I mean, like, the first time I went there, they didn't really know what I looked like from Adam, so I'm sitting out there in the front step at Children of the Night because no one was answering the little bell. You just can't walk inside there, you know, obviously. And God, did I feel like a scumbag, man. I just wanted to get out of there. But, you know, but I mean, I got to tell you, the place is so great. And I can't talk about it enough. I think that everything she does is out of this world.
Well, I would like for you. This is for another thing, but just give you a heads up. I do another site called the New Architects, and it's a social justice type site. I would like if you would send me her information or give her my information so I can interview her for that site.
Absolutely. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
She would love that, dude. And I think it's important that, at the end of the day, this might seem like small beans or like a small part of the pie, but it's really not, I mean, any support that they can get it speaks mountains. They don't have any money, man, This is a nonprofit that probably doesn't get any money. I don't know the answer to this. They don't get any money from the government, do they?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't think they do.
Well, they're a 501c3. They can't. They only can get their money from donations or fundraising.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're not interested in reading about heroin addict vampires or anything like that, I suggest you take that money that you would normally spend on a book and maybe just go donate it to the organization. I mean, it really does mean that much to me. I would never want, because someone in one of the reviews, ironically enough, his screen name was Twisted, who we all know as a Juggalo band, but he had kind of said, someone wrote, heroin, vampires, what's not to like about it? And he's like, what's not to like about it? Well, I'll tell you what, rape and blah, blah, blah. And the reviewer kind of came online and he was like, dude, this is a horror site, man. Grow some balls.
I think I saw that today. Actually, somebody sent it to me on Facebook.
It's like, it's a horror book, and I'm not going to apologize for making the truth about the world we live in anything besides realistic. Yeah. And you know what? I hate to tell people out there, but little girls do get raped. Little girls are prostitutes, and things like that. And it's important for people to know that, because this isn't some dreamy society that we live in.
Yeah.
And it's just gone everywhere. And this isn't something that's like, everyone thinks that gangs in general it's an LA thing. Right? It's not, dude. It's a Little Rock thing. It's a bad Little Rock thing. It's everywhere. And we were also surprised that the main upswing in heroin in America that we saw in Dateline, which by the way in the past 3 years has gone up 50% in users, was a very suburban area of Minneapolis, where I actually lived for a little while.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is a heroin town now? I thought Orlando and Fresno and Sacramento had pretty much had their grips on that for a while now, but this stuff is everywhere, and I think dismissing it is I want to read for escapism, etc., etc., etc. That's all fine, but then take your money and put it somewhere good and donate it to Children of the Night.
Yeah, no, I totally agree that the heroin is everywhere. I grew up in a small town in Texas, and that was the drug of choice there. It was such the drug of choice that both my brothers are in prison because of it. And one of my brothers killed his girlfriend in a car accident because they were all jacked up on heroin.
Yeah.
So for the people who read this book and say that it's too harsh and you shouldn't be writing about this stuff, the heroin you use in the book with me reading it was hard for me to read just because it was personal experiences. They kind of brought up that, but.
Jason, really quick, I'm really sorry, dude. I would never have put that in front of you had I known that was the case.
No, I'm glad you did, because the book is so well written, and that it put it in front of me, and it kind of made me, say, look, this is not just my life. This is not just my world. This is not small town Texas. This is happening everywhere, and that's why Bait in the book really opened up my eyes to so much more, and why it hit me so hard to do research about not knowing, because in my little bubble of the world, child pornography, like I said earlier, was not something of the U.S. Why would it happen here? And just doing the research on it, I mean, yes, so what if I was brought to the table to this issue through a horror book? I was brought to the table to sexist ideologies or anti-sexist ideologies through 1970s, rape flips, sexploitation flicks, I Spit on Your Grave. hit me so hard. I'm like, I don't want to watch people get raped. I don't want to see movies that support this. And so I went out and, researched what I could do to help groups that are doing this. And I've been a lifelong activist since I was 19. I started my first group then and worked with PETA and all these other groups my whole life. So, and horror movie, and as cheesy as it sounds, horror movies and horror literature and the things that we watch for entertainment do have a purpose to give us light to the outside of the world. We don't always have to watch documentaries. We don't always have to read the truth. Our life is reflected in everything that we do, and that's how we learn about it. Sorry, that was my speech.
Jason, I'm glad you mentioned the verse, I spit in your grave, because I think that if that weren't a horror movie, I don't think it would have been as impactful as it was.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's not necessarily a great film. I think it was definitely one of the very first, women revenge movies that I've ever seen. And, I saw it really young, and I thought it was really effective.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's really easy to dismiss horror as this way that you really can't use it as a reflection of our society. But, let's put it this way. Okay, there's never been a good horror, hood movie ever made, but that doesn't mean that that these things can't be reflected in not in a glamorous way, but in an exaggerated way, and done right. And I think I Spit in Your Grave is the perfect example of that. People were effing outraged when that movie came out.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the remake yet. I don't know if there's any purpose for it anymore. But I think that made a really bold statement at the time.
Well, even if it didn't make the bold statement, it put on the table of everybody who watched that genre of films. It put on their table, put in their conversations, and put the words in their mouth that this really happens in the world. It may not happen, word for word what happens in the film, but everyday life, this shit happens.
Yeah. And people need to know that. And let's not rag on the PG-13 horror movies of the world, but there's nothing that I necessarily see that's all real about them.
Yeah.
Well, reality is gross sometimes.
Yeah.
Reality of it all can be more horrific than anything you can even imagine. Once you really consider this is happening. This is happening to some young girl right now as we speak. She's having to barter with her sexuality in order to survive. That's the effects of that and the ramifications of that last forever, and that's big. It's not just some spaceship landing. It's real.
It's obviously a much bigger issue than really necessarily sincerely touched on in this book. It's a much bigger issue.
Yeah.
And like everyone has kind of said here, the importance of putting realism in horror, not necessarily to make a statement, but to make it real. And
as a reminder. Yeah. It's a reminder.
That's really specifically real. Why I made such a huge point of having RJ take a shit when they were in the cell. Because it's I have never seen any movie at all where someone's sitting in jail taking a dump and there's someone next to him being like, dude, you are so gross, man. But they are eating pig slop, so I'm sure it smells good. But you hardly ever see it, or if I never have. Maybe they did in Shawshank. I don't remember.
Trainspotting.
Yeah, I was going to say they have a shitting scene in Trainspotting.
Yeah.
That's the greatest.
Well, see, there it is, the link again.
Spotted, idiot. But there you go.
Yeah.
Sorry that I got such diarrhea of the mouth today. I was just really excited about this interview.
It's all right. It's cool. Let's bring it back to a little lighter subject of the book. One of RJ's favorite bands mentioned in the book is 7 Seconds.
Yes.
And it's funny that I got the email from you saying, wow, we interviewed Kevin Seconds a couple shows back, and you're like, wow, mentioned in the same,
episode.
In the same show. That is kind of funny. It was not planned, but so going back to the music you talked about, the soundtracking for the movies and stuff. What other real world stereotypes, did you pull from?
I kind of tried to kind of destroy the stereotypes. Yeah. Let's the most obvious example is what you just mentioned. Okay. A heroin addict most likely wouldn't listen to a band that's for all intents and purposes straight edge.
Yeah.
7 Seconds is. They're not minor threat, Ian MacKay makes it so public that I'm straight edge. I've got X's on my hands. Kevin Seconds has never been like that. He likes 7 Seconds because, like I like 7 Seconds, they're just really rad and raw, and they've always been great. I saw him at Bamboozle Left a couple of years ago. It was only the second time I've ever seen him. I saw him as a kid, and I saw him then. And I got to tell you, that guy hasn't missed a beat. The crowd was going nuts, you know? And I think even, like, all the kids with, like, their Black Parade is Dead shirts on and shit, I think that they were really into it, too, you know? There was, like, a secondary stage, which, I mean, the guy's on it. He's about as legit as it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've loved them since I was a kid, and I think that they're great. I think that really pinning Dez into just like that he just listens to emo, I mean, that's kind of more of a thing for his followers. And there's nothing wrong with emo. I don't have a big bug up my ass about it like everyone else does. I think that there's a lot of good emo out there. And on top of that, it's also Dez probably would listen to like a Skinny Puppy and stuff like that. You know, he seems to care about some issues, even though it's probably just because someone told him to care about those things. Yeah. I think the only character that I would have a really difficult time. Wait, let's do Eldritch first. Eldritch would obviously be Sisters of Mercy, Cymox, Danzig. I mean, the guy reads. Another unfortunate loss we had last year was Peter Steele, and from Typo Negative.
Yeah.
I mean, just absolutely 100% the archetype for Eldritch. You know, you look
Definitely,
at that guy.
Now that you mention it, that is total spot on.
Yeah, and it was funny because, you know, because he's also got this really overblown perception of himself. And I'm not saying that Peter Steele did, but I read this really funny thing about him recently when they were backstage at a concert, and I forgot who the opening band was, but they were all bagging on him for being in Playgirl, right? And he was like, "What's wrong with being in Playgirl?" Like, dude, only guys read that. You know, he thought it was like this big ladies mag, you know?
Well, my favorite clip from him is if you see him on, I think it was on the Jerry Springer show or Sally Jesse Raphael, and he's just like, yeah, they all want me. All the women want me.
Peter Steele said that?
Yeah.
Classic.
It's awesome. We'll play it later on in the show just to...
The guy was such a funny personality. I mean, not necessarily. He took himself really seriously. And when you watch the video for... God, I hate ragging on someone who recently passed.
Yeah.
When you watch the video for Black #1, I mean, it's just so dead serious. Freaking Interview with the Vampire. I mean, it's worth watching. But the fact that there's a cello in the band, and you're just like, come on, dude.
It's not ragging on it. That's what really happened.
Yeah. But I think that's what Eldritch would really surround himself in. The wolf's pelt that Eldritch wears, that was straight out of that dumb thing Danzig did.
Yeah.
When he had that video where he's like petting wolves and stuff, you're like, oh, come on, dude. it also played into his whole origin.
Yeah. It was awesome.
I think the hardest character to really pin any music on, you know, I'd like to say that Skinland Invasion, who only appears in the very end of the book, you know, what music they would listen to. I don't know a lot of skinhead music. I know that there's a band called Screwdriver. I can't name any of their songs. I doubt if I could say them on the air.
Yeah.
But I think that's what they would probably listen to. Bait, I really wouldn't know what her musical sense would be at all.
Justin Bieber.
The kind of the song that I had envisioned when I wrote the scene, when she's kind of doing the back and forth, kind of being the mule between RJ and Eldritch and the big bag of HA Fine, is that I found this version, I think it was from Clash on Broadway, of Career Opportunities that's sung by these little kids, that it just seems so perfect and fitting for that scene.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, much like the scene. I also, the BBPs, I think it would be ska, but I don't really know. You know, I think it would be like good ska. I think it would be like the Specials. You know, it wouldn't be like, let's not rag on Rancid, but let's say Rancid. Because there's a lot of good ska out there right now. There's a band called Leftover Crack that is just outstanding.
Yeah, because they tour with Citizen Fish often, and Citizen Fish is by far one of my favorite.
I mean, just like super hardcore. And, you know, you never expect grindcore and ska and kind of like, you know, cellos and shit to go together. But I mean, they have this song, and it's called it's It's not called I Hate Me, but it's something close to that. And I gotta tell you, it's a mind-blowingly good song. And I think the lead singer, I forget his name. I don't know if you know it, Jason, but I think he did everything in the song himself. I don't think he had a band at the time. I think he might have been part of Citizen Fish at one time.
You saying from Leftover Crack?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But I just think it's one of those bands that a lot of people have discovered. They're on Fat Records. They're on Fat Mike's label.
Which is a reference to somebody in was that an intentional reference?
To Fat Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I don't know Fat Mike. I know that he owns a label. I actually listened to his podcast that he used to do for Fat Records, and that's where I first heard this band, which I've heard a lot of other really cool bands on there. I mean, he's really on the pulse of everything that's like kind of cool in punk rock. I think that they've become the premier punk rock label.
Yeah.
I don't know. But other than that, the only kind of character that I would really question, I wouldn't know. Oh, really quick, the Hispanic gang, Sangre, they are definitely all about Slayer and death metal. And I think that in Los Angeles, we always see these gangs in movies, let's say Colors, where, you got the Hispanic gangster with the wraps and the bandana pulled down over the eyes and, the flannel buttoned on the top and all that. That's not the Hispanic kids I see in Los Angeles, dude. You got kids with, like, Ramones hair and, like, an Entombed shirt, if you can read whatever it says in, like, any death metal or black metal shirt. And they're all skaters. That's who I see every day. I haven't seen a lot of Vatos lately.
No.
Doesn't seem to be a real big
That's
trend.
a done deal.
Yeah,
So the suicidal tendencies feel is still alive in LA.
Yeah, I was actually gonna flip up this when I was doing my whole street thing and write like Venice on it, so I could act like I was actually from Venice. Venice used to be a really, really rough town, and I did live there when it was pretty rough. I lived in what they call Ghost Town. Yeah, it's scary as shit. And I don't know if this is even true, but I've heard this several times. Was Suicidal Tendencies really a gang, or is that just some made-up bullshit?
I think it may be a made-up bullshit. Because you can't go from gang to infectious grooves.
You can't go from gang to a bassist for Metallica. So, the debate thing with music, I have no clue what you could possibly listen to. I'm sure it would be something she'd think was pretty hard, but it was probably pretty phony.
That's funny that you said that, because I think that's the same problem that you're having trying to pick the music for Bait is the same problem that RJ has trying to understand her, because that generation gap. What was a 13-year-old listen to? I mean, we don't know. I'm too old for that.
I don't think they would listen to Justin Bieber. I don't know. I think that's like an 8-year-old, isn't it?
I don't know.
What does a 13-year-old listen to? So the new My Chemical Romance sounds like that. Their new song sounds like it could be something that a kid could be into.
Yeah. I don't know. I've toured with them too much. I don't.
Pretty infectious, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea.
I'm sure they come together at the end.
Yeah.
So everybody should go pick up Knuckle Supper. It's available this Tuesday, November 16th. All proceeds, or the proceeds, not all of them, 10% of the proceeds go to a great cause, the night of the...
Children of the
Thank you. Children of the Night. I said that backwards, I know. So definitely... What is the website? Is it knucklesupper.com?
It is knucklesupper.com, and there's essentially links off to everywhere on there. Mm-hmm. I'm also giving away a skate deck for a skater who was recently diagnosed with leukemia, which is really unfortunate because he's really rad. And that information's on there as well. If you'd like to bid on that, there's a signed skateboard deck of the cover. There's a signed copy of the book and a signed T-shirt. I know that seems like I'm giving very little. I want to help. Yeah. And there's a lot of other stuff coming up. Obviously, the Bloody Disgusting giveaways that start next week, and the release of the book next Tuesday. So that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. And the screenplay?
And the screenplay you can expect to be at first draft beginning of the year.
And you're going to keep us posted on what you're working on with the screenplay and the videos, right?
As much as you want to have me on.
Anytime you want to come on, just let us know.
Okay, guys.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you, Drew. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leonard. Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Hey, let me move this real quick. So, everybody should definitely check that out. If you missed the links, please go to the Zombie Popcorn and check out the link of Knuckle Sucker to get the links to the Children of the Night and to knucklesucker.com. We're going to take a quick break and play some music. And when we come back, we'll take up the second half of the show. You're listening to Zombie Popcorn Radio. Here's some 7 seconds. Welcome back to Zombie Popcorn Radio. You with us?
Yeah, I'm with us.
All right. Excellent. That was a great interview.
You can still barely hear me, though. I don't know
You
what's
can
going
still.
on.
That's it.
Maybe I'll turn up my headphones.
Maybe. Oh yeah, I did turn those down. That's why you can't hear. But I did turn those down. So yes.
No, I sound dull.
You sound good.
Yeah, well,
Right.
not really good, but,
but
I can hear myself.
but you can hear. So that is good. Awesome. So that was a great interview with Drew and Dia. And
I wish I could have added more, but I haven't read the book.
yes,
So
it's always a problem
heads
with
up
it. Though.
for everyone, send 2 copies.
Just 2.
Well, I mean, we could borrow it, but let's face it, neither of us are really fast readers, so it's not like we're going to pass
I read
it
that in 2 days, man.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Because I stayed up all night.
Yeah. Oh, shit, the interview's tomorrow.
Oh, man, no. But it was good. It was good. So, how you been, Paul?
I've been good. Ish.
Hello, 3D Movie Man. Hello, Eric. Hello, everyone in the chat room. Hope you enjoyed the interview with Drew.
Hello.
So you been good?
Yeah, I've been all right.
So what's new?
Nothing.
Nothing. That's it.
Maybe a little Colin Farrell news.
Oh, did you hear about that?
No.
Oh.
I'm just looking down at what
You're
you
just
printed
looking at
out. Yeah. Everything I came up with the idea for a show is shit we've already done. It's like, oh yeah, oh we already did that.
We can still talk about it.
No, it's cool.
And there's fucking pizza sitting next
I
to
know,
you.
and they're hot.
I know, I see that. No, but awesome. Yeah, since you brought it up, let's talk about it. What the fuck?
Why? First of all, this movie. I know we say this every time. Every time.
Do we?
There's a remake. But this movie, the original was really good.
Yeah, it was good.
Because it says here that Colin Farrell is set to play the lead in the remake of Total Recall. And what makes Total Recall so awesome?
Schwarzenegger.
Well, yeah, that. But like any other futuristic movie, you try and make something look like the future, but it's only, it's only the ideal of pretty much the decade that you live in.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter when something was made. You go, you watch all the future movies from the 50s, everything's in a bubble, things still have fins, silver jumpsuits, you watch things in the 60s, everything kind of has a Barbarella vibe, and then in the 70s, everything gets grittier, like Soylent Green, and the cars no longer have fins, but they're still really long, like the 70s cars, and Total Recall is awesome because it's so like late 80s. Everyone has shoulder pads. It's an awesome movie.
Yep, but now it's not going to be that awesome.
No.
It's going to be what's that movie with Will Smith? That's a futuristic movie.
Yeah.
I can't think of what it's called.
I Am Legend?
No.
That's not futuristic.
The robot movie.
Oh, hold on. I really like that movie.
Oh,
yeah, I do.
Well,
that is probably one of the only Will Smith movies I like.
what? iRobot.
Yeah, because the robot design is so great.
You just like it because you have Mac. You're
Dude,
Mac obsessed.
After I watched that movie at the theater, by the end of the week, I went home and wrote like an instrumental synth pop song with nothing but like every voice of my Mac computer singing. I'm serious, I did.
No, I believe
and it
you.
was
I
all
believe
about
you.
it was all about an artificial intelligence. It was
Yeah.
the 3 laws, I got all I like went out and bought like Isaac Asimov's short story books and everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it was really awesome.
Oh, it's awesome. It's an awesome movie too. I love iRobot.
Yeah, so he's going to be playing the lead. How can you replace Arnold on that?
With Colin Farrell.
I mean, I don't think he's going to kick ass in this one.
No. It doesn't seem like it's old enough to warrant a remake to me, but
we
say that with
we say that with every
movie.
movie. It doesn't matter if it came out in the original Frankenstein by Thomas
It hasn't been around.
What are they doing?
The Thomas Edison Frankenstein.
Why are they doing that, man?
It was so much cooler when
when they barely could see what was going on.
When it was a bunch of mold on some film, and it had kind of an orange look.
Yeah.
The monster was way creepier when it was silent.
And then they fucking, I don't know what they're thinking. Stupid studios.
Fuck everything up. Can't believe they cut the runtime from 10 minutes. Or not cut, added on.
Was it? Yeah. Why would they expand that story?
Seriously. I really liked how the speed would like fluctuate.
They fucking ruined that. Damn you. But anyway, yeah. But, we could be upset with Colin. But it wouldn't be a show if we wasn't upset with...
Oh, here it comes.
Guess.
Oh, I'm just going to
throw it out there.
And say, Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas. You would be right.
We need a Nicolas Cage theme song.
We really do.
Like in Beethoven's Nicolas Cage.
3D Movie Man in the chat room is like, Cage.
Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. We talked about this movie at least 100 times on this show. Not on this one, but on Zombie Popcorn. And on Zombie Popcorn Radio. Season of the Witch.
2. Trailer 2.
They've already made a sequel.
That's
and the
right.
first one hasn't come out yet.
Starring Nicolas Cage. You probably would have loved him in Season of the Witch 1.
But you're not going to get a chance to see
Because we've remade it.
already. So here's Season of the Witch 2. Anyway, I don't know what the fuck. But anyway, yeah. So there's a new trailer. There's a new trailer for Season of the Witch, which stars Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage.
This is turning into like in the year 2000.
Nicolas Cage. 3D Movie says for someone with so little acting talent, we should talk about him a lot.
He is so awesome.
We can't help it. What Josh did this to us.
You know, I think he's the patron saint of zombie pop. We should get little.
We should get tattoos.
Like,
it gets quiet.
yeah, I was gonna say I don't think we could take it that far, but maybe like one of those Saint Francis of what is it, like Assini? Is that what you know, where he's got all the little animals? You put it in the garden. I think we should just have it reworked into Nicolas Cage's face.
Well, what we could do, and this is true because I'm looking into new software for Zombie Popcorn 3D, and
so once we get that, the show will be down for a week.
Yeah. It will be down forever. But with that, we can do green screen. And with green screen, we can put Nicolas Cage awesome. With us.
We could just play Nicolas Cage movies in the
background. But anyway, the reason we're talking about Nicolas Cage, because there is a new trailer for Season of the Witch.
Why wouldn't you talk about it?
I don't know. So I want to take a moment to play the trailer. Season of the Witch 2. Nicolas Cage.
Cage.
We've come a long way, my friend. Across oceans, deserts, seen things few men have seen. And fewer still will believe. The end is in sight. There is a whisper throughout the land that the hour of our judgment is upon us. What madness is this?
This is a curse from hell, brought upon us by the Black Witch. We've been found guilty of consorting with the devil.
Wait! Do it. No! I am Damon of Blybrook. Your name has become legend. You must deliver the witch to Severac, where you will destroy the witch's powers. That the witch... That is not what I say. I will take the girl, but if she is not what you say, she will not be yours to burn.
You're not like the others. Do you believe I'm a witch, Bayman?
Don't be deceived. She sees the weakness that lies in our hearts. And what she sees there, she will use against us.
You're not afraid of me. Are you?
These men are prepared for battle.
You have to get in line behind me.
She'll turn one man against another.
They must be punished.
Let's finish this.
We're gonna need more holy water.
Coming soon, which means it'll be out in January. Actually, so.
What I like about Nicholas's performance in this movie is that apparently his character comes from the same region of England as Kevin Costner's Robin Hood.
Oh yeah,
where they just have no accents.
That's true.
Yeah, it's like a tiny little island off of the bigger island, I guess.
Which I don't know what that is.
Yeah, me neither.
So yeah, 3D Movie Man said while we were running that was we should get Cage bobbleheads for our Kardashians.
That's awesome. That's a good idea.
That would be fun.
At least Ron Perlman will carry that.
What's that?
Ron Perlman's in it, so he can carry the movie.
You think so?
Ron Perlman's awesome.
Well, I think it would be an awesome movie if the acting wasn't so bad.
I don't think it'll be that bad.
You don't think so?
No. Although, I did watch recently, maybe a couple months ago, Jan and I decided to go to like the cheap theater, the like Cinema Cafe.
Yeah.
And we watched the Sorcerer's Apprentice with Nicolas Cage.
Oh, yeah. Was that good?
No, not at all. It was awful.
Which is pretty much the same environment. I mean, not environment, but mystical that Season of the Witch.
It was like watching National Treasure with magic. Which in
Really?
theory sounds good.
No, it doesn't.
No.
I don't think National Treasure was good, was it?
National Treasure 1 was, it was mindless. I saw the second one, and that one was pretty painful.
There's a second one?
There's a second National Treasure.
Really?
Yeah.
Shut your mouth.
Okay.
I've always wanted to say that, so. But yeah. Crazy. I don't know. So we should go see Season of the Witch.
Okay.
And take the audio recorders so we can talk about it.
No, hopefully they won't have that software installed yet.
Oh, yeah, that we talked about last week. What the fuck? I'm sure they will, just because. But that'd be good advertisement for zombie popcorn.
Right. Oh, that'd be awesome. You owe a public apology to Nicolas Cage for trying to record his movie.
I would love to have to give him a public apology. That too.
It probably wouldn't get to meet him. We'd have to just give him a public one.
I'd say he needs
in
to
a
come
room that would have a camera in it, and he would be watching.
I said if we actually had anybody listening to the show other than 3D Movie Man and Eric and
right.
Jim, then I could say we could do the public apology on zombie popcorn, but they'll just laugh at us. Laugh, they would. But yeah. So your new album dropped.
Oh yeah, it did.
Yeah, all of that thing. So we just end it. Do you want to talk about it?
It's out. Go buy it.
Where can they buy it?
You can go to darkduck.net. And you can at least go there and listen to it. And then at least go to my Facebook page and tell me how awesome I am, even if you don't buy it, just so other people will see it and be like, "Oh my god, the guy really might be something."
That Paul guy is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's the
Talk
new
about Ego Stroke. What was that?
Yeah, it's the new Lilt album. It's not the floor ambient stuff. This is more of the up-tempo IDM. Everyone's probably like, "What the fuck is?"
No, 3D Movie Man just said, "You're awesome, Paul," and he said it just like that.
3D Man. It's really weird how he can actually put emotions in his font.
Yes,
and without using those little smiley faces, so much comes across. He's really a master at the chat room.
He is.
Yeah. But yeah, it's lots of clicks and pops and textures. And
can we preview it right now?
Yeah, you can probably play a video that you and I made over last January. I think we shot it.
So this is the album that has the legendary song that we worked on.
Yeah. This, I gotta say, this song, if we play it, is probably the noisiest of all.
Do you want to play another one?
Sure, but you don't have anything.
I thought we'd go to Dark Dog.
Well, you can play some of the previews. I mean,
do you want to do the preview?
They're short,
planned, or do you want to do the robot?
Just go ahead and do the robot video. That'll work. That'll kill time.
All right. Well, while we're killing time, let's give a background to the robot video. This video we started working on. God, how long ago was it?
We shot it when January 1st because I had the day off, and you had the day off because it was like a Friday or something, and I had the day off because it was January 1st.
Yeah. And
so yeah, and it just got finished.
It's not even necessarily. I mean, yeah, it's finished, but not the way
intended.
we planned it on.
No. But nothing ever works out like that.
Yeah,
It's got a
I
few
would have
go-
finished it that night, but it was sad. I tried to open it anyway.
Yeah.
This song is from the new Lilt. I can't talk.
Lilt.
And the name of the song is "Stranger in a Strange Land," and this is a little love story about a robot.
It's all Incredible Hulk. He's all walking away. Only he's not sad.
Fixed.
Yeah. Oh, it all came full circle.
It's a happy ending.
Yay.
Yay. We all love happy endings here at Zombie Popcorn. Anyway, so if you like that, that is as Paul says, one of the noisier songs from the album.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most ruckus
Induced.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty good. I enjoy it. I had fun. It was one of the second most relaxing video we've worked on together.
Yeah.
So it's good. While we're talking about promotion of stuff, everybody needs to go out to darkduck.net. That's too many D.
Yeah.
But and pick up his album. Darkduck.net.
And you can hear clips from all the other songs.
And then buy it. Because if Paul doesn't make money, he's not going to be able to hang out with me. Because I can't hang out with poverty.
That's true. As it is, we might be moving back to your city.
Really?
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Well, okay, we'll talk about that. But speaking of helping out Paul, you can also help out Zombie Popcorn by buying the new Zombie Popcorn t-shirt. Yeah! Zombie Popcorn has merchandise and it's a t-shirt. But anyway, yes. I don't know.
This Sunday.
If you know what's good for you, you will. Anyway.
Bring the kids to see Scooby-Doo and the Rugrats. And
wearing the new Zombie Popcorn t-shirt. If you pre-order now.
Man, this is going
nowhere. You can get it for $15.
$15.
Pre-order now. New Zombie Popcorn t-shirt.
Hey, that reminds me. The other day I watched Tenacious D.
Oh, yeah.
On TV. Have you seen that?
I don't think... Have we seen it? I think I've seen parts of it on tour.
It's so awful and glorious at the same time. It was awesome. That has nothing to do with our show.
You just wanted to say, have you seen it?
I like Tenacious D and The Pick of Destiny.
I have not seen that.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. 3D Movie Man says gloriously awful.
Yeah, it really is. But, oh man, if you've ever heard a band called Uriah Heep, this whole movie is like one of their albums.
Really?
Yeah, it's so freaking epic. And medieval, and yeah, I love all the...
Awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of epic, and I know 3D Movie Man will probably be on the same boat with me on this, but there are 3 new things that came out this week that I went crazy with on Zombie Popcorn. And that deals with TRON Legacy. There's a new trailer out for TRON. And it was funny because Miley, I was like, there's a new trailer out for TRON. I'm so excited for TRON. Miley was like, I'm not excited for it. But I showed her this trailer and she's like, yeah, I think I'm going to be excited for this film. So I want to take a moment to play the new trailer for the new TRON movie because it's going to be awesome in 3D. So watch it. Here it is.
What do you say? Tomorrow, you and I hit the arcade. First game's on me.
Can we play doubles? On the same team?
We're always on the same team.
Good evening. Our lead story, Kevin Flynn was reported missing. The visionary icon and Encom CEO skyrocketed to the top of the tech industry. He was last seen at home with his son, Sam, leaving behind an empire and a now orphaned little boy.
Sam, I was Paige last night. Paige came from your dad's office at the arcade.
Alan, you're acting like I'm gonna find him sitting there working.
Where am I?
He's different. Your father was the creator. He never thought I'd see you again.
Dad. Sam. Long time. You have no idea. The Grid. A place of infinite possibility.
It's incredible.
More beautiful than I ever dreamed. And more dangerous than I ever imagined.
What happened?
My creation turned against me.
Captain Flynn! Where are you now?
What am I supposed to do?
Survive.
We have to get you out of here.
Out there! There's a new world!
Here they come.
Out there! Yeah! Is our destiny.
TRON. That's going to be an awesome fucking 3D movie.
That looks good.
It looks amazing. I'm so excited about
I'm
this.
just a little disappointed that neither of our fathers created a video game universe
Yeah,
for
what
us.
the fuck? But the regular viewers of Zombie Popcorn Radio will remember a time not too long ago when I got a present from Paul.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the original TRON poster, but on a t-shirt.
I was going to say, where did I get that from? That's
You're like, I gave you that? What?
The original TRON post.
No, it was...
I can't afford that.
You're like, what the fuck? No, you're lying. No, but he got me the TRON...
It was signed by Walt Disney.
No.
From his cryogenic sleep.
Yeah, I brought him back on the show. No, but he got me a shirt for my birthday of the image of TRON that is so well known of Flynn with his arms up in the air looking up the beam with
basically your version of the crucifix.
Yes, pretty much. But now with the new TRON coming out, TRON Legacy, they paid tribute to it and released a poster. If you're in the 3D chat room, you can actually see it now. I think it's really awesome how they kind of tilted the hat to the original. And I like the movie so far because it's kind of it's merging the old school with the new school. It's like father like son type thing. It's pretty awesome. The poster looks amazing.
We should see if we could get the TRON guy on him.
I'll write him.
Interview him about the movie.
I'll write him and then we'll do it. But it's
You can get Jeff Bridges.
yeah, he'd just be like, dude. What's that?
I'm not doing nothing.
He's like, hell no.
I was telling Jan we should try and get Alec Baldwin because he goes on every show.
Just get him on there.
Yeah.
Say, hey,
we can start with Alec Baldwin. That way we can get larger people. Be like, we've had Alec Baldwin. And they'll probably just be like, yeah, who...
But I think if we got larger people, it would be the downfall of Zombie Popcorn.
No, because we'd still be completely unprofessional and write our interviews 15 minutes before the show starts.
Well, he's just a dude.
Yeah.
But I didn't write the interview 15 minutes before.
I know.
I was prepared 2 hours before.
Yeah.
No. But have you seen did we talk about the Daft Punk music video for TRON yet?
No.
Oh, then we need to talk about that. But before we do, if you're really into Daft Punk and you're really into TRON, then you're going to really love...
Just narrowing down the conversation a little bit.
I don't know. There are a lot of people that are into both.
Oh my gosh, if you go to the Facebook TRON page, it's nothing but Daft Punk kids going, oh my god. They're saying that TRON is only a massive music video for Daft Punk. But anyway, you can actually get the Daft Punk TRON action figures because they make a cameo in the movie. Yeah. From Sideshow Collectibles now, if you can go to Zombie Popcorn, you can actually see them.
His stuff is really repetitive, though.
But
not to hate on Daft Punk. I mean,
yeah,
he's
no,
good at what he does. But
it really is. It is really repetitive. Which I think
it's just
plays
the guy who writes a 70-minute song.
Well, I mean, you can say that because that's what you do. But I think it plays well for a movie soundtrack, though.
Oh, I'm sure.
Especially for Tron, since they take the original sound.
You know who they should have got for it? Kraftwerk.
They probably couldn't afford Kraftwerk.
No, Kraftwerk won't work with anybody.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But let me.
They turned down David Bowie and Michael Jackson.
They turned down Zombie Popcorn.
Yeah, of course they would.
I mean, what the?
This is laughable.
We're like, can you put another beat in that? There's no.
This is all you get. We are minimalist. You will dance to this and love it.
Damn it!
We are.
Why are they doing this to us? But yeah, no. If you, Sideshow has got a lot of Tron stuff. They got the original Flynn, Tron Flynn bust on there. And what are you doing? That's not right. And then you can get Daft Punk action figures. So
I watched a video the other day of a guy that plays theremin to a Daft Punk song.
Really?
And he wears like the Daft Punk hat. It is a really great theremin player. I'll have to look it up and send it to you.
Awesome. Well, since we didn't talk about the music video for Tron, let's play it real quick. Okay. And Daft Punk makes a cameo in this video as well. I mean, it makes sense. 3D Movie Man says theremin rolls.
It does, 3D Movie Man.
Here is Daft Punk's.
I play the theremin on the new Lilt album. I'm just going to throw that
out there. Yes,
on the song called Elixir of Noise. Although play might be a heavy-handed term. I make a lot of noise with it.
To be continued. We'll be back.
Bum, bum, bum.
And now, a special presentation of Daft Punk's D-Rez from their original score of the new motion picture event, Tron Legacy.
I kept dreaming of a world I thought I'd never see. And then, one day, something happened. Something extraordinary. I got in.
This can't be good. What am I supposed to do?
Sentadas. Here they come.
Change the scheme, alter the mood. Electrify the boys and girls if you'd be so kind.
There it is.
Nice. Although I will say, because his stuff is pretty repetitive,
yeah,
it makes for good like video game / driving music.
Yeah.
So it'll work really well in the scenes with the bikes and everything.
I think it's going to work really well. I think this movie, you're just going to sit there with an audio erection the whole time.
Yeah.
'Cause I think the sounds.
I'm sure I will. I'm probably going to go home and get rid of all the extra crap and want to minimalize everything and put blue and neon everywhere.
Just change all the lights to black lights.
That's it.
But yeah, I think the sound is. I think it's going to be amazing, and it, along with the soundtrack and the movie itself. I'm so excited about this movie, and it comes out soon, December 17th.
Nice.
So you know what we'll be doing on December 17th? IMAX. Okay, nobody else agreed.
No, I'm there. I looked over to see Jan's face because
she's like, hell no,
I heard her
cut
breathe
you.
in for like a sigh. You know.
I'll go see it if we have any damn money.
We don't need money to see Tron. Tron is like a charity.
Tron's been inside you all along.
Ooh.
It's like
it's
Buddha
true.
nature.
I mean, yeah. It's true. Tron.
It's like the Dharma.
You think the Force in Star Wars is great? No. The Tron inside you. Everyone. The Tron is inside you. Woo! Yeah. Okay, it's 9 o'clock, so which means we end the show. But before we end the show, I really wanted to talk about this. This is on the pages that are ... afterwards.
I don't know. I drew on everything.
Yeah, I know. You fucking. That's why we never do this. Celebrate the Tron inside. That is true. Thank you, 3D Movie Man.
Celebrate the Tron.
We're just going to start making soundtracks to all of our one-liners.
Nicolas Cage, the Tron.
Anyway, you remember a while back? It made a. I don't even remember when it was. We had Phil on the show.
I know where this is going.
We had Phil on the show.
Yeah, we did have Phil. Phil is the guy who is in communication with extraterrestrials, greys, occasionally reptilians, and they control his mind and his thought processes.
Yes, he's plugged into their AI.
That's right.
And he came on the show and allowed us to talk.
He was a nice guy.
Yeah, very nice guy. And he was nice enough to come on the show to let us talk to him and to ask the aliens questions. And he channeled. It was a great interview. If you missed it, it's in the archive section of Zombie Popcorn on the Zombie Popcorn radio site. The reason I bring this up is because I found this video the other day, and it has some similarities to what Phil was talking about. So I sent the video to him, and I sent it to Paul just so they could both see it, and asked Phil what he thought of it. Before we go on, let me play just a little bit of this video just so you can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about. This woman has a demand to Obama. And her message is that it comes from these aliens that she's in contact with, that she has communications with. And her message to Obama is to surrender or die. And it goes into detail. So let me just throw it up. I'm not going to do the whole thing on it because it's really long. I just want to give you a taste of it so you can kind of get an idea of what the hell's going on.
I was on Freedomizer Radio off of.
I want to leave us some light so we
on AM and FM radio.
Let me skip forward to what she's talking about.
I told the Draconians and the reptilians on this planet through me earlier today that if Obama and his entourage gets on aeroplanes and leaves the United States so that they're free and clear and away from these dirty bombs that are supposed to be detonated and let loose on the 8th of November, that when they land on the other side of the ocean, Earth is going to let loose with a shake, rattle, and roll like these guys have never seen before, and the Pleiadians are actually going to help her by manipulating Nibiru that they've been keeping secret from everybody.
This is actually your mother.
And it's the reason why.
That's what Eric says. Eric says, "Oh my God, that's my mom."
It's getting warmer and warmer.
3D Movie Man says the Draconians were the bad guys in Buck Rogers.
There is a war that has been planned for a long time. 70 years.
That's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
They did their trial
just like
run
L. Ron
in Russia
Hubbard.
with
It's just a
communism.
coincidence he was a sci-fi writer.
Yeah. So anyway, so she goes off. End it there. She goes off for a long time talking about pretty much what you heard there, but it goes into greater detail. So I sent this to Phil and said, "What do you think of this woman?" I mean, because I was really curious because I didn't know if they ran in the same circles, if they didn't like each other, if what. Because I mean, that's why we had Phil on the show because we don't understand. We don't. Anyway, so he wrote back.
This isn't our world of
Yeah,
expertise.
yeah, it's definitely not our world of expertise. He wrote back. This woman's name is Colin Thomas, and he goes off. He doesn't. I'm not going to read it word for word.
You want me to read it?
If you want to read it, go ahead and read it.
Until I start stuttering.
Do it, and then you'll stop.
Long.
Right.
Yeah. It says, Colin Thomas is propagated by the Greys, I believe. She speaks to an AI, not all, let's see, that's probably Palladians, if she's even in contact. In fact, I'm not sure Palladians even exist. Almost anything I've heard her say at this point is complete bullshit. She does know some things, like reptilians exist, and the Binderberg group meets up, and they are the New World Order, basically. I'm assuming that's what NWO stands for.
Yeah.
She knows about the big pharma and who's out for profits and not curing people, mentioning valid topics and putting it off with the label of Colleen makes it anything she says a joke. Colin Thomas, or the Wild Colleen, quote, makes a mockery of the contactee field. She rented videos of her naked out to people for $30 once. She gained publicity. She's a joke and makes every other contactee on the planet look bad. The mainstream media has no problem with representing her or her website to the public because they have an agenda to debunk what contactees are saying, and she does a good job of that. So yeah, that's kind of like having the Columbine kids held up as like the goth kid poster.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and you're like, oh, come on, there's so much more to that.
So that's why I asked him, because, you know, if there's somebody like this giving them a bad name, we should know. But what really got me was after he sent me his answer to what he thought of Colleen, he mentioned that she rents out nude videos for $30. And
who rents?
I don't know. But I didn't understand that, and I found her YouTube page, and I was going through there, and I guess now on YouTube I didn't know that you can rent videos off of YouTube.
Oh.
You can post your video on there and charge a fee and rent it. So that's what she does. She has these videos, but so I was looking at her videos, and one of not just one, but many videos share this similar title. Let me find it. Where did I put it? Yeah, the title was BTR August 15th interview with Scott Goldberg, with more nudes of Colin Thomas. So you could rent this video off of YouTube for $2.99 from her YouTube page, where it's an interview, and apparently she's nude. Yeah, that's weird, but it gets even.
That always will add a lot of
hits to your
clout to your message.
Yes,
I didn't think it was very valid until I saw the one video where Jason Bayless and Paul Casper were actually naked during a debate of whether or not Frankenstein was technically a zombie.
Well, now that you bring it up, that's
it
next
was
week's
when
show.
After they both took off their clothes that I realized, yeah.
3D Movement says, "Wow, let's contact the mothership." But it gets strange because
it gets strange.
Yeah. As you look through the rest of her videos, she's like got videos that you can rent where she's talking about certain topics that she's in full bikini where you can see her skin glow. That's what it says.
Wow.
And it's so bizarre.
Topics like childcare.
Childcare. Watch my skin glow in this bikini. But it's so
Learn
weird.
how to become a dental assistant, a paralegal with Colin Thomas. Take Colin Thomas's new truck driving course.
But the thing,
GED.
The thing is, and I don't want to be disrespectful to Phil, because he was nice enough to open up his world to us. And I say that because on her YouTube page, she has a phone number if you want to interview her. She definitely wants people
talking.
She definitely wants people talking, and she definitely wants people who have webcasts and stuff.
Well, I'm sure our wives don't want to hear this, but if we have a 3D camera, if ever there was a way, 3D Movie Man will agree with this because he has a collection of similar titles. I'm just kidding. Okay.
I don't think 3D Movie Man thinks it's funny. No, but Eric says we should call
Jen's
it.
getting the hot coffee mug ready.
That's a pair of scissors, man. Watch out. But Eric in the chat room just says we should call it right now. I think it's just going to be a
I think it was just
a voicemail.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then I guess that's more reason to do it. We can do it.
Cox internet connection.
Should we do it?
Oh, I thought you were playing something else.
No.
I thought you were playing the
There's just an advertisement in front of the video. I think we should. I think we should do. Okay, we're going to end this show. We're 10 minutes over already. We're going to end this show by calling this number that she has on her site, just to hear what it says. If she answers, oh my God, what are we going to say? I'm sure we can figure it out. Wait, hold on. Here it is. If it says, if you're a news reporter or a newscaster, call Colleen at. You want to call it?
If you want.
Why are you guys still talking? It's past 9 o'clock.
We got to call this.
Where's that tissue tomato for the
Why don't we call her next week, and then we have to work on less stuff.
Okay. Yeah. We'll call her next week.
It's a cliffhanger.
Yeah. So you have to tune in to find out what her voicemail or if she will
maybe you
answer
should
will
dial like 4 digits and then we'll end the show.
And then we'll do the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll do that. We'll call her next week on the show. Call this number, and then if she answers, we'll set up an interview or do an interview right there. If not, then we'll get her up for the next show. Actually, we're not having a show next weekend. That reminds me, we're not having a show Saturday. I'm going to be in D.C. It's Miley's birthday, so we're going to be in D.C. We're not doing a show next week, but we'll be in the week after. So we will definitely call her for sure. So
in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, we'll call her. But anyway.
The countdown begins now.
So tell everybody. And in the meantime, go get your Zombie Popcorn t-shirt. And Paul's
I'll do that.
new CD.
Save that money and go buy a little CD.
Oh, we're going to fight.
Yeah.
We have 3 movements. What is this, sweeps?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Anyway, it is now 9:12. We're 12 minutes over, and we're going to end the show.
Have a good night.
Y'all have a great night. Thanks for hanging out. And 2 weeks, we'll see you. Have a great night. Bye-bye. Nicolas Cage.